Tiffany Turned On. I'm your host, Tiffany Anton. I'm a psychotherapist specializing in sex and relationships. I hope to help you get turned on in life as well as inside of your bedroom. Today I'm bringing in a guest, and their name is Autumn. I was lucky enough to meet them about 3 years ago, and I would say we hit it off the bat. What would you say, Autumn?
I would say that's a fair thing to say.
That was egotistical. I think we hit it off right off the bat. So we met at an event.
I think it's just shared interests, and I came into that event and to our space with a level of shared vulnerability that pretty open with. And I would guess you being a therapist, it was talking about stuff that was right in your wheelhouse. I think that really helped there.
So just because I'm a therapist, that it's just all accepting. We
Part
just saw
of
each
that.
other. Autumn, I'm here to embrace you.
But we also talked a lot about gender.
Yeah, we did.
And the things that, we're not really supposed to ask, but I was so open with everything and told you
So
to feel
I was
free.
right off the bat, I was inappropriate.
You weren't being inappropriate. Just once we had built some, level of trust and there was that connection there.
I would say mutual respect and curiosity.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Autumn brought to me a whole new acronym, and that acronym is, I'll leave it up to them to discuss it with you.
Okay, so this acronym is SOGI, SOGIE, and this stands for sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression.
Tell me about your SOGI, Autumn. What is
Well,
your identified SOGI?
My SOGI is I am omnisexual, and that is lean towards energetically feminine energy. Gender does not matter to me within that. And then my gender identity is I identify as non-binary, trans, femme of center. So I was assigned male at birth, or AMAB, AMAB. Now am a femme-presenting person, which brings into the gender expression of femme-presenting. I wear primarily female clothes. I wear some makeup. I'm on hormones that have feminized my body, so I'm feminine in presentation. Sexual orientation, gender identity, and then gender expression.
Sexually, you then identify as I am omnisexual.
Correct. For most people, I just say pansexual because people know what pansexual is. Omnisexual is kind of more like gender does matter to some degree, but I explain it more as a energy between masculine and feminine. And so genitals don't really matter, but it's more that feminine leaning energy. It can be a male who is feminine and
I have mentioned before that I'm in the dating scene, and I found it interesting that I needed to be more specific about my sexual orientation. And I wrote that I'm demisexual and sapiosexual. I love intellect, strong vocabulary. You definitely need to be smarter than I am. I know some people would be like, no, I need to be smarter than them. No, got to outsmart me distinctly. And then demisexual is I'm not open to a hookup. I mean, it might be fun to hook up, but I'm not that open to it. I need to have a trusting relationship with you first before I choose to share my body. I would guess that even 10 years ago, those words would seem even more foreign because they're just really kind of coming into mainstream now. Kind of saying, hey, I'm not a hookup right in the beginning.
Yes, which so many people are doing now and I think is helping a lot. A couple others that I do use to refer to myself, but I don't necessarily include in my sexual orientation is call myself demi-romantic. And so what that is, I need to know someone well and a good connection for a romantic attraction to be there.
Okay, is that different than sexual attraction?
That is absolutely different than sexual attraction.
Are you and I, are we demi-romantic with each other?
Yeah,
We are?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole
I don't think they have that
don't
option
fuck
on
each
Facebook.
other but fuck next to each other
Yeah.
thing.
Yes, because you and I are not sexual, yet we're very
Correct.
affectionate.
Yes.
And any flirting that we do is playful, because we know it's not going to even lead to a makeout.
Right. And it's just fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we like flirting.
No, so much.
In the article, Omnisexual, Gynosexual, Demisexual, What's Behind the Surge in Sexual Identities by Olivia Goldhill, on the site qz.com. In 1976, the French philosopher Michael Foucault made the meticulously researched case that sexuality is a social construct used as a form of control. In the 40 years since, society has been busy constructing sexualities. Alongside the traditional orientations of heterosexual, homosexual, by the way, don't use that word anymore, say gay, and bisexual, a myriad of other options now exist in the lexicon, including pansexual, which is considered gender-blind, sexual attraction to all people, omnisexual, which we were discussing with Autumn, similar to pansexual but actively attracted to all genders rather than gender-blind, and Autumn described it as attraction to the person's energy. Gynosexual, someone who's sexually attracted to women, this doesn't specify the subject's own gender, as both lesbian and heterosexual do. Demisexual, sexually attracted to someone based on a strong emotional connection. Sapiosexual, sexually attracted to intelligence. Objectum sexual, sexual attraction to inanimate objects. Autosexual, someone who prefers masturbation to sexual activity with others. Does this depend upon who is your sexual partner? Androgynosexual, I'm sure I messed that pronunciation up, is sexual attraction to both men and women with androgynous appearance. Androsexual, sexual attraction toward men. Asexual, someone who doesn't experience sexual attraction. By the way, this is an umbrella term, and all kinds of descriptors can be under that category, so research that for more. Graysexual, occasionally experiencing sexual attraction, but usually not. In her article, it states, clearly, people felt that the few existing labels didn't apply to them. There's a demand being made to have more available scripts than just heterosexual, homosexual, and bisexual, says Robin Dimbroff, philosophy professor at Yale University, who researches feminist theory in construction. Labels might seem reductive, but they're useful. Creating a label allows people to find those with similar sexual interests to them. It's also a way of acknowledging that such interests exist. In order to be recognized, to even exist, you need a name, says Jean Proust, philosophy professor at City University of New York. That's a powerful function of language, the performative function. It makes something exist. It creates reality. The newly created identities, many of which originated in the past decade, reduce the focus on gender for either the subject or object of desire. In establishing sexual attraction, demisexual, for example, is entirely unrelated to gender, while other terms emphasize the gender of the object of attraction, but not the gender of the subject. Saying that you're gay or straight doesn't mean that you're attracted to everyone of a certain gender, says Dimbroff. The proliferation of sexual identities means that rather than emphasizing gender as the primary factor of who someone finds attractive, people are able to identify other features that attract them and, in part or in full, decouple gender from sexual attraction. Dimbroff believes the recent proliferation of sexual identities reflects a contemporary rejection of the morally prescriptive attitudes toward sex that were founded on the Christian belief that sex should be linked to reproduction. We live in a culture where increasingly sex is being seen as something that has less to do with kinship and reproduction and more about individual expression and forming intimate bonds with more than one partner. Dimbroff says, I think as there's more of an individual focus, it makes sense that we have these hyper-personalized categories. And what I know about you is you met your wife in high school and started dating her like in 9th grade?
Yes, 9th grade.
So in 9th grade, did you feel like, so I'm identified male at birth. Did you feel like I'm a dude and I'm attracted to women?
Assigned male at birth.
What did I just say?
You said identified. That is what the doctor decided. So identified male at birth, that's bringing in the identity into it, which isn't the same thing. So it's two different things.
I'm using the word identity as I have identified what your genitals look like.
Okay. And see, I use identity more as that's coming from self. Okay. Whereas assigned is outside of self. So you don't have any power over the assigned gender at birth. The identity comes from within yourself, and it's about how you feel, what feels right to you.
It is always important to learn the terms to be respectful. And having been indoctrinated with the pronouns he and she, and all literature, that I was raised with, and a lot of literature that continues to come out, is he and she. And so I know that I have fucked up and at times called you he, and at times called you she.
Yes.
And then I believe, you have to let me know, I believe that I have quickly corrected myself.
You have. I'll just throw this out there that when that happens, that's kind of the best thing to do. You just quickly make the correction. Don't apologize. Don't make a big deal out of it. You just quickly correct yourself and move on.
Because see, then I want to apologize. Because I feel like I've screwed that up. I don't want that person to feel disrespected by me.
Right, but making it a whole big thing and like really going into that apology, that just makes it even more. And then also it's kind of taking like you messed up my pronouns, which was hurtful. But now we're making it about you.
I never thought of that.
Right? And so now I have to like take care of you, like it's okay, like, and make sure you feel good in your apology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm taking care of you.
One of the things that I attempt to focus on is instead of saying he said or she said, I will say Autumn said, distinctly using that person's name.
Which is an awesome way to do it because then you don't even have to worry about pronouns if you just always use someone's name.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never wrong.
Unless they change their name.
Well, okay. Sure, there's that.
Let me go back to, so I'm aware that you met your wife,
Mm-hmm.
freshman in high school, and I was wondering so if I can go back to assigned at birth. I got that correct?
Yes.
And I really appreciate you explaining that. Again, the way that I was looking at it was, in essence, kind of the same. Identified your genitals versus the assigned piece.
You want to identify my genitals?
Not today. I
Fair
won't
enough.
believe you. I'm wondering, when you were 14, you're a freshman?
Yes.
Okay. At 14 years old, did you relate to your assignment at birth? Did you feel like, yeah, I'm a dude and I'm a straight dude?
So I grew up in the 80s.
When did you graduate high school?
2000.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't, I guess I
With
assumed
my
that.
partner Ken, born in 2000. So
Oh, God.
yeah.
You like them young.
with this one I do. But-
What is it in regards of the identity piece? 14 years old.
Basically, at that time, like, I've heard of trans people. They were always really outcast, like really judged. I never even looked at that as a possibility. I always felt like I couldn't relate to other people, like the guys I was hanging out with. Never really felt a part of, but I couldn't put it into words. I didn't really know how to explain that.
What about the social aspect? Have a decent peer group, or were you more shy and to yourself?
So I was kind of more shy. Didn't have great self-esteem. I had pretty poor self-esteem. I got along with other people for the most part, but I was made fun of a lot.
What were you made
at
fun
times.
of for?
Weight.
So you were a
Being
chunky kid?
overweight, yeah. That was one of the big ones. Or just not being good at things.
Not like sporty like you're supposed to be, quote unquote?
Right. Even though I tried all the sports for like a year. And yeah, because that just wasn't for me.
I
Well, I did
wasn't-
football for 2 years.
You did football?
I did. But
I wasn't even chosen in the top 5 for the kickball team. You know how you are in gym and they choose you? I was like, who's going to get stuck with Tiffany?
thankfully, I didn't have that experience of being picked last. Thankfully. But I had like big classes too that I was in through school. So it was like people who had it worse off than I did. My experience still wasn't great.
Was your high
Looking
school
back.
big?
It was. So in my graduating class, we had 200 and some odd people in my class. So there was like 1,000 in the school, like 1,200 maybe.
Because I
So,
came
yeah.
from a small school. Yeah,
And they
small
all
town.
knew you.
Yes, they all knew me. And I
Everything
was...
about you.
I was, this is the late 80s, and I was known for my lioness hair. I had this red hair, I don't know, like mid-chest? What would you call it?
Yeah, I mean, that would work.
I had this pretty bright red hair. I have wavy hair. I added a permanent to it.
Okay.
I was all into Def Leppard,
Oh, fuck yeah.
Motley Crue, Poison.
This is amazing.
The total eight. Did you know this about me?
No.
I'll have to show you a picture. I experienced a pride with how I looked, and that was one time when I measured my bangs. 7 inches.
Wow.
I know. That's the only 7 inches I've ever had.
Probably definitely the best.
And what we would do is we would lift it and back comb and then aquanet. And then what you do
You
is...
didn't have them sticking straight up like that, though, did you?
Yeah, I really did. Shit, you're not. I really did. I'd have to measure what it is now. It lays flat now.
That's how you walked around like that with enough?
Yes. And listeners, you can't see me, but I'm literally grabbing my bangs and I'm pulling them up high. Ken, can you get a measuring tape? Is there a ruler around here? And with my hair, it would back comb, aquanet. Then you take the curling iron
The
and
door?
you don't wrap it. You do half of it going up, more aquanet, and a blow dryer. So I was a total kind of prissy, cisgendered, chasing all of the boys. Okay, Autumn is here. Let me put my head here. I'm going to touch my forehead.
Okay. We are at 7.5.
Ooh, so I'm just a half inch longer than I was in high school. Isn't that hilarious when you look at me?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was doing in 1988, 89. I had this red hair everywhere. Like I said, kind of a lioness. When I was born and assigned female at birth, I never questioned, do I feel comfortable and completely aligned with what my body looked like? And I did have some kind of heteroflexible, more thinking, and I judged myself for it. You don't have that type of thinking and kind of a fundamentalist Christian grandparents.
I mean, I get that. I was raised Catholic, so...
You were raised Catholic.
All that shame, guilt, yeah.
Catholics are really good with shame.
Especially with the queers.
Those queers.
So being queer, absolutely.
Oh, I was distinctly attracted to boys, struggled with boundaries in regards of telling all the boys I was interested in them. I might have literally chased them around, even in first grade. I think in first grade I had a crush on a boy named Scotty, and he had that toe head, which, it's kind of almost white. It's so blonde.
Scotty doesn't know.
Isn't that bizarre? I remember that in first grade. I don't know if there's a Scotty out there that went to Riley Elementary and is now 51, 52 years old. Just let me know. Hey, Scotty, I was chasing you around when I was 6 years old because I started kindergarten when I was 5 years old. Again, I never questioned my attraction to males, my interest in sharing my body with males. I wanted to have those experiences. What really benefited me in being in the small school, knowing everyone, is I got really lucky as I was throwing myself at these boys. No one in my peer group in high school, or even not in my peer group, took advantage of me.
Okay, wow.
I know, I'm throwing myself out there, and I think they realize, oh, Tiff, come on. No, thank you. You're the very fair-skinned snowman. It was called Snow, Snowman. And this is before redheads were hot. Redheads are hot now. It definitely wasn't hot in the 70s and 80s. I was really lucky that I was not taken advantage of. And now, isn't it unfortunate that I even say the word lucky? Because then that means that we assume that if you're throwing yourself at another person, they're going to take advantage of us. But in reflection, how our culture was, particularly in the 70s and 80s, it's asking for being disrespected.
Which is really sad.
It is. That's why I had to oh, I'm so lucky. What? You're telling me all these shitty people? Oh, just because you threw yourself at them, then that means you're asking for A, B, C, and D.
Right.
When really what I was asking for was attention and validation. So if you had a crush on me, then I felt validated. I don't know of anyone who actually had a crush on me in high school. I was the social butterfly.
But if anyone listening, reach out.
Flirt with the 51-year-old redhead.
There you go.
Still has. One of my friends said my skin was alabaster. Oh, that made me
amazing.
Melt. So much better than elementary school and being a snowman. I'm talking about my sexual identity, and you were with a female.
Yes.
Cisgendered?
Cisgendered female. And so I was, for a long part of my life, kind of living with this mask. So I was trying to be this cis male and do what I was supposed to be doing. People wanted me to be doing.
I have heard of assigned at male at birth, not feeling that way as their genuine self inside, and actually becoming hyper masculine to fight their internal battle. And this is more in the younger development. Do you know anyone who struggled with kind of that same piece, and they then became hyper masculine to mask, as you talked about, that used that word a little bit ago, to mask their true identity? And that's what I would call it, is true identity with gender, not assigned.
I can't speak for someone else necessarily, but there were definitely parts of me that really did that. My whole attraction to guns was really a part of that.
Are you still attracted to guns?
Well, I mean, I still like guns now, but it's not like a prepping situation. Or
you're not a prepper? We didn't build a bunker in the backyard. Are you shitting me?
No.
Oh my
totally
God.
Used to be. So, and was building this arsenal, had all these guns. And
that didn't come from the Catholic faith.
No, that wasn't the Catholic
world is ending.
thing. No,
what
that
influenced
was more...
you to be a prepper?
So first it was just the perceived power of a gun.
Masculine power, I would say.
Yes. when I wasn't feeling masculine. And so having this gun made me feel more masculine. It was
Did
a
you
way
hunt?
of like, I didn't ever hunt.
Okay, so you still like guns. You didn't hunt in the past. Do you
No.
hunt now?
So I don't hunt now. No.
Shooting range?
For a while, I did competitive shooting. So I did do that.
I didn't even know there was competitive shooting.
It's a whole thing. Lots of different types.
Do they do competitive shooting with Glocks?
There is definitely handgun competitive shooting, and but
I hear that in rap music, that they have Glocks, Percocet, lots of money, lots of ladies. So what kind of gun
not
would you
necessarily
use?
things that should go together, guns and drugs. But, it happens.
What kind of competitive shooting then? Like what kind of, would it be a rifle?
Yes, so mine was rifle. Mine was, in particular, service rifles. A rifle that someone would have carried in a war. So the rifle that I would use is an M1 Garand. That was what they used primarily in World War II.
Interesting. There's a historical aspect to it.
Yes, that was just a lot of fun.
How did you do with competition? Were you a good shot? How was your money shot, Autumn?
I'd be happy to share my money shot with you.
And I would give you a high five.
Yes.
Way to go, Autumn! Woo!
No, I was okay. I did all right. I wasn't like winning awards, but I was doing okay. I was happy with where I was.
Did your parents ever make any comments about you being boy enough or man enough?
I can't remember any specific comments, but there was always a part of me that felt like I wasn't enough, wasn't athletic enough, wasn't the child they wanted. So I'm adopted too, so that was part of this. Feeling like I wasn't the child that they wanted when they were searching for a child.
Really?
Yeah.
As an adoptive mother, oh my God, I wanted to be a mother. And when I found out who was going to be my kiddo, it was so exciting. Like, you're mine. You're mine. Come over here. You didn't get that sense from your parents.
No, I didn't. I was in foster care for a little while before being adopted. And,
I didn't know that. Okay.
And so the kind of separation from my birth mother to then going to like another family unit and then being separated from that, going to my adopted parents, there was a lot of difficulty forming connection there.
Well, what jumps out at me is fit in. Where did you fit? How old were you when you went to your forever family?
I was still like within my first year.
So you were baby.
It wasn't real long I was in foster care, but just the, kind of like starting to bond and then the abandonment thing, and which is why abandonment's so fun for me now, one of my main issues. But
yeah, many of us. We were just talking about the developmental stage of trust versus mistrust occurs the age 1 and under, and that would be the formative trust versus mistrust for you.
Yeah.
We mentioned trust versus mistrust, and in the article by psychcrumbs.com, I found it the easiest one to describe Erikson's model. According to Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory, trust versus mistrust is important to human development. This stage happens during the first 18 months when babies learn to trust the world around them. They do this by looking to their caregivers to meet their basic needs and respond to their emotional cues. If caregivers consistently provide for their babies and show them love and attention, they learn to trust the world and feel safe and secure. However, if caregivers are unresponsive or neglectful, babies may develop a sense of mistrust and view the world as unpredictable and unreliable. A few examples are, if a baby is consistently fed and comforted when they cry, trust that their caregiver will meet their needs. However, a baby who is often hungry or left to cry for long periods of time may develop a sense of mistrust in their caregivers and the world around them. A toddler who can explore their environment safely and securely learns to trust the world is safe. A child who is consistently praised and encouraged for their effort learns to trust and feel confident in their abilities. The milestones associated with this stage include the following: learning to rely on their caregivers to meet their needs, developing a sense of familiarity with their surroundings, learning to differentiate between people and objects that are safe and those that are not, developing a sense of security and comfort in their primary caregiver's presence, learning to self-soothe and manage their own emotions, developing basic attachment patterns such as seeking comfort from their caregivers when distressed. If the infant develops a sense of mistrust, they may struggle with self-doubt, anxiety, and difficulties forming healthy relationships in the future. This can lead to emotional and psychological issues such as low self-esteem, difficulty trusting others, and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Furthermore, the stage can impact an individual's future relationships and well-being. If infants develop a secure attachment to their caregiver during this stage, they are more likely to form healthy and stable relationships with others throughout their lives. They may also have a better sense of self-worth and be more resilient in facing challenges. However, suppose an infant develops an insecure attachment or a sense of mistrust during this stage, they may struggle with forming healthy adult relationships. The music for Tiffany Turned On is provided by Kumasi Afrobeat. If you're interested in more of their music, you can find them online at kumasiafrobeat.com. KUMASIAFROBEAT.com. They are New Orleans' full Afrobeat band. They play to make you move. If you liked what you heard in today's episode and you want to learn more about me, check out my website at neworleanssextherapy.com. I also have a TED Talk entitled I Love Pleasure from TEDx Vermilion Street.